Hello, my name is Margaret McElwee, and today we'll be presenting about cloud security. So to begin, I'm going to just outline what I will be talking about today in my presentation. To begin with, I'll be discussing cloud security and just its basic features, and then I'll go into the history of cloud security and how it came to be, followed by discussing some cloud providers. Then next we'll go into my personal experience working with cloud security, followed by some failure stories about the cloud. And finally, we'll talk about the future of what the cloud looks like. I wanted to begin by giving a quote from the Citrix Cloud Survey Guide back in August 2012. First to mind when asked what the cloud is, a majority respond it's either an actual cloud, sky, or something related to the weather. Now, keep in mind, this was back in 2012, so hopefully by now people have a better understanding of what the cloud really is. But back then, people thought the cloud was just something in the sky, and today I'll teach you about why it is so much more than that. So to begin with, I'm going to just provide a quick overview about the cloud. So cloud storage has become increasingly popular and does have so many benefits. As many know, the cloud just holds data, and what I'll be talking about is how that data stays secure while it's in there. Cloud security is very important because as it becomes increasingly popular, more and more people are trying to attack vulnerable information. So keeping this information secure is a very high priority. In recent years, there have been a lot of money put into cloud security just to protect against that. So companies are having to pay lots of money to keep this information secure and to ensure that it's held with the highest security integrity possible. And of course, lack of cloud security can lead to incidents that can cost up to millions, even billions of dollars. And we'll discuss some more incidents of those cases later in the presentation. But this is a risk for companies for lawsuits, and data getting lost in general can cost a lot of money. And finally, prioritizing cloud security is a primary responsibility for all organizations, big and small, end users in general, have to make sure that cloud security is a #1 priority. I'm next going to talk about the history of cloud security and how it came to be. First, I'm going to show this diagram about how the history of cloud computing. So we're starting right here with J.C.R. Licklider, who created this concept in the 1960s. It was his dream to have a interconnection in the web. But of course, this idea was very advanced for the time, so it wasn't really able to be conceived until 2006, where Amazon invented the term cloud storage. And Google and other companies jumped on the wave as well. And of course, with this new and very advanced concept, people were skeptical. So cloud security has been a concern since the beginning. Data breaches are an extreme worry to companies. As I said, from 10 people to 10 million people, security is important. And cloud security providers often prioritize security through network security topics like encryption, IAM, VPN, firewalls, and intrusion detection. Firewalls are especially important when it comes to cloud security. Next, I'm going to talk about how the different cloud storage platforms kind of work. So AWS and GCP, Amazon Web Service, and Google Cloud Platform are very popular options. Of course, there's many more than just these two, but we'll just discuss these for now. Both have this shared security responsibility model. I'm going to show you right here how that works. So this is for AWS. Google, of course, has theirs a little bit differently, but the shared security model kind of emphasizes that AWS will handle all the software related issues like computing, storage, database, and networking, and the hardware, of course, which deals with regions, availability zones, and edge locations. So there's AWS has many regions throughout the world. For instance, there might not be one in Ohio, but there could be one in, I know there's a Northern Virginia one, and that ensures that there's a backup of the data in case something does happen. So that's their responsibility for the security of the cloud. But a lot of the security rests on the customers to handle. So for example, customer data, platform applications, and identity access management, operating systems, network and firewall configurations, client-side data, server-side encryption, network traffic protection. This all falls on the customer to ensure that it's taken care of. So to go back, Google Cloud Platform emphasizes the security model by making encryption a requirement, where AWS has that as an optional feature. Encryption for for example, all your Gmails, they're already encrypted when you send them. That's a service they provide. AWS offers a variety of software products, while Google Cloud Platform offers key management services to help organize those encryption keys. AWS has many features I'll discuss in a second, but many of them include S3 and EC2, which are both very scalable services. Just to show you, here are some of AWS's services they provide. EC2 is one of them, S3, Athena, and QuickSight. And of course, they all have different use cases. So EC2 provides computing power through virtual machines. So people could start up their own instances of environments that they choose to run on their own machine virtually. And then S3 handles the storage of objects for files and data. AWS and S3 both use security features like access control, server-side encryption, versioning, change tracking, and IAM roles. And this helps protect the data in the cloud. And Amazon EC2 uses VPC, security groups, network ACLs, encryption, IAM roles, key pair authentication, again, for instant security. So those are kind of the differences between those two. And next, I'm going to talk about cloud security in the workplace. I was fortunate enough to have interned with Highland Software this past year. And so I worked closely with Amazon's EC2 and S3 services as I was on my way to studying for the Amazon Cloud Practitioner certification, which is where you learn about all the products and you get certified that you know how they work. And so I was able to work with a lot and learn about those services Amazon offers. I also had the opportunity to learn about Nuxio and Alfresco platforms and their security measures. Nuxio is a content management system, as well as Alfresco, and both of them use AWS very closely to deploy their service. Nuxio is very customizable, which brings me to the point that they have to make sure that they're holding the highest encryption standards and following government guidelines such as GDPR and HIPAA. Alfresco uses EC2 instances. Shared security model emphasizes that the customer's role is super important when it comes to cloud security. So it doesn't all fall on the company to secure the data. You have to make sure that it's relayed to the customer that they also are responsible for keeping their data secure. And it's also very important in my everyday life, keeping cloud security at a high standards, which I will talk about next. So obviously, as a individual living in 2023, I'm using the cloud every day just by storing photos, text messages, and just data in general. So it's really important for me to understand what I can and can't put in the cloud. And also creating strong passwords to ensure that that data is staying safe. For example, I don't have my social security number stored anywhere on my device, just for my own purposes in case that got out. That would be catastrophic. So I keep my social security card locked away in a safe. That way, no one can access it in case my data was compromised. And then I try my best to make sure I always have my multi-factor authentication on and that everything I do is encrypted so that I can protect me against someone maliciously trying to get into my accounts. And then, of course, you always have to watch for phishing attacks, as we receive emails all the time from spam users asking if we want to win $1 million, and you click on a bad link and then all your data is compromised. So it's very important to stay up to date and educated on best practices in cloud security. Next, I'm going to talk about some notable cloud security breaches and failures. Capital One and Target, they were both victims of some very big data breaches that taught a lot of people lessons when it comes to cloud security. To start with, I'll talk about the Capital One breach. An AWS engineer, Paige, she was able to affect 100 million individuals and compromise their bank account information, credit card numbers, social security numbers, and other information about them. And she could sell it to others. So Capital One was sued for lots of money, and Paige Thompson was sentenced to 5 years in jail and $25 million. So that just shows that computer security should be held to a really high standard, and only trusted individuals should be trusted with this kind of power. Target is another example of a monumental data breach. This was when hackers installed malware on the payment system, and 110 million customers were affected, again, with their credit card numbers, names, birthdays, all information about customers were released, and an $18.5 million settlement was paid out. So once again, justice was served, but at what cost? This really teaches us to hold those strong cybersecurity measures and to really hold those engineering principles. As an engineer, you have to really hold the values of strong ethics into place. And finally, I'm going to talk about the future of cloud security. It's an exponentially evolving field, the cloud is. So more and more organizations will continue to migrate to. More investments will also take place in cloud security, and which also means that jobs will be created. So it's a great field to study and become knowledgeable about. I believe that more of an emphasis on identity and access management, data encryption, and threat detection. More technologies will be released about that in the future. AI will continue to be able to better detect these threats, these threats, and therefore respond to them accordingly. And we're also likely to see more regulations when it comes to data protection by the government. And finally, new threats will occur as technology advances. So we don't know what the next new thing is going to be and how we're going to keep that secure and protected. And just takeaways, cloud security is going to keep growing. And so we really have to do our best to maintain our own information and keep that secure and follow good practices. And keep in mind that it's a growing field, and it would be a great job to have to take care of cloud security for companies. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and I provided my email right here. Thank you for listening.